Hi, this is Rahmaan. Hope you all are doing well this evening. I'm doing very good. I wanted to come on and talk about uh, some people seem to be triggered. Um, I know why, and I knew this would happen, but I just want to come on, just talk about just a couple things for those that are feeling some type of way. Um, it is what it is. I knew when I started talking about this topic, which is welfare did not destroy the black family, that people would feel some type of way. But it's astounding to me that in my 10 years of fighting for child support reform, I have seen that message being shared and shared and shared over and over and over so many times I can't even count. And I've been sharing it for about 24 hours, a little over 24 hours, and I've been called a racist twice. Twice. That's why I put, it's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it, but fuck them. Because I'm thinking of finesse 2 times. 2 times in less than 2 days. So that's super interesting. Like, so imagine if the tables is turned and you seeing that. And I can't help how somebody interprets my words, or if I'm quoting something, I can't help how you take it. Just like if I read something or I see something, the person that's putting the message out can't get mad how I can't get mad how they interpret or how I interpret their message. Nobody can control that. But I have to mention that in both instances, uh, they put words into my phrase. Like I didn't say what they saw. They put a whole word. The guy here on Facebook put a whole word that did not exist. I said, "What the fuck are you reading? What are you reading?" So that's just off the rip. I'm not going to stop talking about what I'm talking about because I think it's important. And it's not even that I'm trying, like with child support, the child support hustle, I was uh, trying to, I had a mission and I fulfilled the missions that I had. I had a goal. This is more so, this was started for me. Like, what are they talking about? And that's what I kept seeing, that talking point. And then I kept seeing the Moynihan report. So I went and read it. I didn't, I, that made me research more. And the more I researched, the more I wanted to write something to counter that report based on what I disagreed with. And that's what I'm almost finished now. That's what I did. It took a little bit longer than I had anticipated. But it'll be out. So that's why now you'll see me with my t-shirts and everything, because y'all know I put it on the shirt. It's a silent protest. That's what I think t-shirts are. First impressions, smile in a shirt. So, you can say what's on your mind by simply wearing it. And this is what's on my mind. Just like the fake fatherless crisis, the fatherless hustle is another thing that they push and push. But when you go a little bit deeper and just, a tad bit into what they are pushing, it's really an illusion. Just like child support, an illusion, the smoke and mirrors, child support debt. It's not there. The fatherless crisis, not there. Welfare destroying the black family. I'm right here. Me and my children are, just because the family doesn't look like every other family does not mean that family doesn't exist. Does not mean that family is destroyed. And it's about time. That letter was leaked 60 and 65. So if we're in 2023, why are we still referencing a letter that was written before the Civil Rights Bill was even passed? Like, and based on information that loosely, I'm going to say loosely, is relevant. And I say that because Moynihan, who was, let me say, Daniel Patrick Moynihan was his name. He was for anybody that doesn't know, he was an assistant secretary of labor to LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson. I think I got that right. And so he wrote this report, and it was 49 pages. Anyway, it wasn't called the Moynihan Report. It was called The Negro Family, the Case of National Action. And so this is like the Torah or the Bible to people who push that talking point that the welfare state destroyed the black family for numerous reasons. And where the premise of this report comes from, most of it is based very loosely on the work of a man named E. Franklin Frazier, who was a scholar and a sociologist, and he was educated at the University of Chicago, Clark, and Howard universities. And he authored several books on the Negro families and their lives. And so Moynihan took pieces of Frazier's work, and one of them was a dissertation, The Negro in the United States, and that was published in 1949. So most of that report is taken from phrases that Frazier wrote about. He had several works about the Negro families earlier. So one thing that was in the report that Moynihan quoted this is a quote: "Since the widespread family disorganization among Negroes has resulted from the failure of the father to play the role in the family life required by American society, the mitigation of this problem must await these changes in the Negro and American society, which will enable the Negro father to play the role required of him." End quote. Now this is in 39. If you notice, whenever you see like PragerU, Larry Elder, Candace Owens, whenever you hear like top people like that bring up the problem with the family, the black family, they'll always start in 1960. They won't go prior to 1960 because it will destroy their narrative. It will destroy that whole thing, because in their mind, 1965, because that's the welfare state. That's it. But Frazier wrote this in, like I said, this was 39, 49. So that's what he wrote. So in 65, if this problem existed where the father was not there, and 39, 29, 2000, where does 65 come from? It doesn't fit the narrative. So in the end of that report, Moynihan ends it by saying that nothing happened after Frazier wrote that. However, we're supposed to believe now, because this report is still going around, we're supposed to believe that everything in the black community concerning family life was great. Marriage was flourishing. Jobs were, everybody was working, and then all of a sudden this welfare program, this social net, safety net, somehow tore families apart, because black people were doing so good. They destroyed the very foundation, the very structure. It just doesn't make sense. But if nobody corrects it, and people have. Trust me, I've been researching this for almost 2 years. That's why my book is not out yet. I started digging and researching, and it just, you know, I didn't want to put out a half product. I didn't want to put out something that was not thoroughly researched, because this, like I said, this, well, anybody that knows, this report has been going on for a long time. Dr. King was still alive. Rest in peace. So, what Frazier had also written years before the report was an explanation as to why these fathers may not have been active in their families, besides the obvious, why they weren't active during the time that he wrote the report. Oh, I should say that Frazier was himself a black man. So he's writing as one of the educated black men of that time with college degrees and things like that. He's like one of the first scholars. So he wrote this in his dissertation, which was about 800 pages. So he was saying why fathers were not as active as they should have been post-slavery, emancipation, Reconstruction, convict leasing, the Great Migration, Jim Crow, black laws, labor strikes, and there was a couple of wars in there too. So the fathers, you know, they kind of busy if they were still alive. So in the 1949, I thought it was 49 dissertation, this again was entitled The Negro Family in the United States. Frazier explained that the loose ties that had held men and women together in a nominal marriage relation during slavery broke easily during the crisis of emancipation. When this happened, the men cut themselves loose from all family ties and joined the great body of homeless men wandering about the country. And he goes on to say that women without children did the same thing. And women with children, they did the same thing, except they had their children with them. So the bond there was no bond. That people just, because they were just left at their own devices. Sure, people were married after slavery because that's, okay. That would take me I'm not doing that. So here's the key part. The women roamed the same way. The difference is they had their little ones and they took them with them. There was no nuclear family, the patriarch or the matriarch. That wasn't set in stone as a foundation. So the quote that I put up from the doctor in a post I made yesterday, it wasn't anything offensive. I wasn't trying to offend anybody for you guys to call me racist or anything like that. It was here and somewhere else in an email. But I was just stating what is already stated. I've been reading this stuff forever, and it's all over the internet. So if you guys can say it, why can't I? What's the difference? You're saying single mothers, single black mothers is destroying the fabric of what? I take offense to that. But the thing about these past 10 years, it's taught me a lot about social media and how to, deal with how people take information and how they process it. Like I said, you can interpret what I put out completely different and vice versa. I could see something as sky blue, but you might see it as red. And that's okay. Just because you think you're right does not make me wrong. But the difference, I'm going to have a link. I'm going to have a bunch of information with that to tell you go there. I'm not just going to say it because I feel like it. That's the difference. Facts over feelings. So somewhere in the history of black families turned something that was a kinship of extended families into a forced nuclear family that turned into pathological that turned into broken, that turned into destroyed. And yet black families are literally everywhere. We are everywhere. I put a picture of me and my children up. We're everywhere. And it's disrespectful to say that we are destroyed. And what's more important for me and why I'm doing this is because there's children and young adults that will be parents or want to be parents that are seeing this. And y'all know how programming goes. To see that your family structure or what your potential family structure might be has already been destroyed is damaging. So at least I can do my little part and say, look, no, it's not. This is what happened, and that's what I'm trying to do. Something to counter what I've been seeing for 10 years, because it's not a lot out there. So let me see. So I finished this with saying it's hard to believe, not hard, but how a 48-page report released in 1965 can still hold weight over an 800-page in-depth dissertation that Moynihan cherry-picked. He cherry-picked topics out so he could run with his narrative about pathological Negroes and their families and their badass kids, because that's what we see now. That's what that report is about. The only difference is the storylines. And that's where, when you go into the welfare, and you know, welfare is not even what it was when Clinton changed it. So you know, when Clinton changed it, it wasn't what it was in 65. So why are we still pretending that welfare is what it was in 65? The family structures, if you will, are not going to be what they were in the 50s. Hell, black people couldn't do nothing in the 50s. So why are we even comparing a family to what it was then? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I'm not going to debate it unless you pay me. So I'm not upset about it. I wanted to kind of bring my point of view in here for anybody that was interested, because I'm going to start posting stuff, and I've said this since I retired. I said I'm going to start talking about some other things. People might not like it. People might feel some type of way, and that's fine. And that's why I kept saying I don't work on child support cases anymore, because, you know, I'm writing something else. I'm reading other things. I'm researching other things. What I will do is answer your questions. I do take gifts. If you want to, you know, send me a little something, and I'll, you know, take a look at what you got and see if I can give you a hand, because now, you know, I'm an independent writer, journalist. So when I did the child support hustle exclusively, it was never about money. I never charged anybody for helping them, and I never would. But oh, I see a piece of hair sticking up. But that's what it is now. So that's it. So might see black, white, Hispanic on here, but it's everywhere. It's not where I'm trying to do anything, and I'm not apologizing for it. I'm just letting you know. Yeah, I'm just letting you know. So as always, I gotta try to find these comments. If there are any, I don't even know if anybody's on here. Oh, it don't look like it. So maybe I'll see some people later, comment or whatever. So thank you guys. And for the future, thanks. Oh. All right. Y'all take it easy. Have a good night. And